Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today we're going to be doing a Super Star Destroyer build and asking the question, are Super Star Destroyers still competitive? Can we build one that can be taken seriously, that can still compete and perhaps win? And despite all of the changes that have sort of hit huge ships and the Super Star Destroyer specifically. And so that's what we're going to be kind of looking at today in this video. If you guys are new here, be sure to enter to win that giveaway. There's still a few days left before we announce the winner. So all you have to do is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos that enters you to win that $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. Also, be sure to check out some of the links in the description below. I will be putting a link to Ryan Kingston's Fleet Builder. This is the website that I am using right now to do this build, and you can check it out too. If you're new to Armada, it's a great way to kind of plan out some of your lists. It's a very, very easy, intuitive interface and works very well on mobile as well. So I'm going to be using the Assault prototype here, but before I kind of jump into the build, I think I want to kind of ask a couple of questions like, what does this really offer that other ships don't offer, right? Like if you go, there's a couple of things that I think Super Star Destroyers used to have that they have lost. Being huge ships, before the Clone Wars, before Armada 1.5, before there was the big rules change, they used to get a pass token, which definitely helped. They don't get the pass token automatically anymore. They will probably end up getting, one or two passes depending on your list, but they're not guaranteed any kind of pass token mechanic anymore. Also, they can no longer do 3 shots out of the same arc with gunnery team anymore. That used to be one of their big claims to fame, is having you in that massive front arc and being able to really lay waste to people with 3 shots. Now, they still do get 3 attacks per turn, and there is still the chance of perhaps getting advanced gunnery and being able to take 3 shots out of the front arc. But I don't think anybody in their right mind would choose advanced gunnery against a Super Star Destroyer that perhaps didn't have gunnery teams already equipped. So what are we really getting? We still get a ship that's got 22 hull, or 33 if you're playing one of the epic versions, but we're going to stick with the tournament legal versions of 22 hull each, which is really, really hard to kill in a 6-round tournament. Usually, Super Star Destroyers don't completely get destroyed a lot more often. They just, you either have the other ship that you have with you get destroyed if you're running, or one of the other ships if you're running, some flotillas or something like that. And maybe you'll get half points on the Super Star Destroyer, and then you get some points there. You're going to get yourself over 100 points just for getting 11 damage on this hull. And so that's kind of like a vulnerability. And I think when you compare this to, say, the Starhawk that the Rebels have, which can also get 6 tokens on it and has only 14 hull, but if the Starhawk ends the game with 13 damage on it, it's still 0 points. Versus if a Super Star Destroyer ends the game with 13 damage on it, well, that opponent just scored 110 points or more on you. So I think there's been a lot of changes made, and overall, I think the Super Star Destroyers are a little bit weaker than they used to be. But I think there are still some ways that we can make them competitive. So, one of the new things is salvo, but currently the only way to get salvo on a huge ship right now is to use that weapons team and kind of lose your gunnery team's options. So you could consider doing that if you're really going for more of a carrier, but I just don't think you want to do that. And if you really compare the front arcs to regular ISDs, you're getting very, very similar dice pools. So it's going to be tough to really make a list that I think is going to really shine. You do have a nice little red anti-squadron die, so you can do some decent flak. But now that the fact that we've lost a shot out of the front arc means I don't see us doing a whole lot of flak. I think most people are going to put squadrons in the front arc to force you to have to choose between doing a squadron attack or doing ship attacks. So we're going to go ahead and start off with our commander for this fleet, and that is definitely going to be the one and only person that I will ever run with a Super Star Destroyer, and that's Jerjerrod. There are not too many options, really, when you're running a Super Star Destroyer. I think generally you're looking at Piet or Jerjerrod. I think it's a shame that Mahdi and other, cards that affect large ships can't really affect huge ships. I think it gives the Starhawk even more advantages because for all intents and purposes, it's better to be large than huge because there's so many things that are prohibited from going on huge ships like Tua and things like that. So, but Gergerod gives us something really, really great. And he's going to let us be able to turn without ever having to do a navigation command. That also is built-in raid token defense, I think, and that's one thing that the Super Star Destroyer, has kind of gained a little bit of ground on since 1.5, and that it is always going to have built-in raid defense. If you have a raid token on you that says, hey, you can't do engineering, well, if I reveal an engineering dial, I also get the token. I can just spend the token to clear that raid, and then I at least get to spend the dial, although I might not get the full that full engineering dial and token, but it's still, I could at least still do the command. So that much is nice. I think one of the things that I think you have to start with, maybe you don't have to, but I really like to, is to take advantage of the one thing that this ship has that nobody else can even come close to, and that's that crazy front swing. And so as a result of that, I'm going to start with Admiral Ozzel, who is going to let me, at the beginning of the game, really take advantage of Gergerod. So I can deploy, and it doesn't matter if I deploy first or last, I can just deploy right in the middle of the board. And I like to do this at an angle a little bit, so this way I'm a little bit farther forward than if I deployed straight. Because again, the farther forward I am, the more chance I have of taking those big front shots a little bit sooner. And then at the beginning of the turn, after my opponent has deployed everything, now I can take that speed 1 move with Ozzel. And during my determined course step for that speed 1 move, again at the start of the first round, I am now going to take a damage. Gergerod bumps me up to my speed 1 yaw is 2 until the end of my activation. So that means once I activate this ship, I also still have, so I get to kind of do 2 speed 1, 2 yaw moves. But this only really works if my speed is set to 1, which is generally what I want to set it to anyway. Because with 2 speed 1 moves on the first turn, especially if I am deployed kind of in the middle, I'm going to be right on top of you almost anywhere you are in the board. So that's effectively really nice. And because you maneuver from the rear base, it swings the front arc so wide. And a lot of people underestimate just how far wide it swings this thing when you do a Gergerod turn. So you're going to catch people by surprise, and no other ship can do that because no other ship, at least currently, has 2 bases and it's swinging from 1. So you get a really, really wide swings on that turn. Now, the next thing I'm going to run, I know a lot of people like to run Palpatine. I'm only going to run 2 ships in this build, and I don't see a whole lot of value in running Palpatine in this particular build, just because my turn is going to be over very, very quickly. By the time we're in shooting range, I'm probably going to want to activate my SSD first. So if I'm first player, I'm going first. If I'm second player, this will be my first activation. And a lot of times, Palpatine, I won't get that much of a benefit from Palpatine. Palpatine would work better on this list if I had, multiple cheap ships. If I was running like 2 Gazantis and something else, and maybe a slightly less expensive SSD. But I'm going to load this SSD up pretty well on upgrades. So I'm not going to have that many other activations to kind of say, hey, get your shots on my SSD now, and then I'll make you pay for it. The more I can stall, the better Palpatine's value would be. So instead, I'm going to go with Krennic. Krennic is fantastic for an SSD that's going to be running Concentrate Fire, and to go along with that, I'm going to run the Ravager Title. So these two are going to work very, very well together. I'm going to want to be doing Concentrate Fires as much as possible. Ravager is going to mean my dial plus the token is going to give me 2 extra dice. Now that front arc on this is going to be really nice. Even at long range, we've got 5 red, where Krennic's going to give me all of the rerolls, and then 2 more rerolls if I spend the dial and the token. So I'm looking at 7 red dice at long range with a full reroll of everything, and then 2 more dice rerolled. So really good odds of getting a lot of damage there, and pretty good odds of getting accuracy too. So that's pretty nice as well. And of course, we'll run gunnery team. So, and all of these trigger off of concentrate fire, and that is really what this build is all about. This build is all about being able to do concentrate fire. Jerjerrod means I never have to use nav, and I have a trick. And the secret plan here is that I will queue up all of my dials to be engineering. And so this way, whenever I need to repair, I can just do a repair. And of course, then I put tactical expert as my third officer. He will let me change any dial that gets revealed to a concentrate fire command. Since concentrate fire is so crucial to me, I'll run this dude on here to make sure that I always have access to it, despite any token shenanigans. And there are a lot of token shenanigans between, yes, raid tokens are a thing, but between slicer tools and Cham Syndulla and cards that mess with your command dials. There's criticals that'll do this. Lots of things mess with your command dials. I want complete command dial protection. The only time I probably wouldn't queue up a bunch of engineering commands would be if I was going up against the Vader raiding team that could kill one officer, because then he could come over and kill my tactical expert, and now the whole ship would be kind of dead in the water. So if that were the case, I would do maybe a blend of engineering and concentrate fire, and then if he does get me, then he might think he has me dead. That would be it. So you'd have to kind of judge it based on what you're going up against. So this is kind of the core of the build. But we're gonna add ion cannons and other good stuff here. So what we want to add is, first I'll add my modification. Now, I do often like spinal armaments with this particular build because that already got 7 red dice with a concentrate fire at long range. This gives me 8 and also buffs up my back in case somebody gets behind me. But I'm going to go with quad battery turrets because I'm going to be at speed 1 the whole game. And if my opponent wants to get out of my front arc, they're going to have to speed up. They're just going to have to. And that means I'm going to get an extra blue die. And that works out really, really well. Hey, you know what? Blue dice are fine. There's plenty of good things that are going to help me with blue dice. And I'm also going to put XI7. XI7 is just really, really good against everything. It's a little bit less good than it used to be, but it's just a really good second turbo laser option. It's very, very solid. If you've already got a turbo laser option that's adding a die, XI7 is especially good with this many dice. Because I don't want to have to, I want to be able to one-shot ships. I'm going to be really low in activation. I want to be able to delete ships in a single shot, and it's easier to do that if I'm automatically kind of either stopping or really slowing their ability to redirect. So I can spend my accuracy on the brace and things like that. So XI7 is going to be very, very helpful here. For our ion cannons, I am going to run heavy ion emplacements. This is the one I'm going to exhaust this once per shot or once per turn. I get to if I get that blue crit, I can drain a shield from 3 different hull zones. It's like 3 extra damage against the ship. So it's just incredibly strong critical effect. And the cool thing here is that quad battery turrets is going to give me that extra blue die even at long range. And of course, I couldn't potentially get that crit in there and make it wonderful. My other ion cannon is going to be SW7 ion batteries. This is just a really, really good, strong card for a number of reasons. And really what it does is it makes every blue die a guaranteed damage no matter what. No matter what. And this is just, I think the value of this card has improved. Not only are there plenty of effects that force rerolls. Usually a blue die was often safe to force it to be a reroll. Now it's completely pointless unless it's maybe just a blue crit and you're hoping you roll it away from a crit so it can't trigger heavy ion emplacements. But yes, SW7 means the blue dice are always going to be damaged no matter what. And that's really nice. It gives me also a lot of flexibility on red dice rerolls too. If I get those red crits, maybe I don't need them. Maybe I do get a bunch of rerolls and I have red crits in there. I'm like, okay, well, no problem. Or I'm sorry, not red crits, but red accuracies. It allows me to just convert my blue accuracies into damage by not spending them. Or if somebody forces me to reroll everything, well, anything blue I reroll is still going to be damaged no matter what. Even if it shows up being accuracies because they're unspent. They'll count as damage. So just that's everything. I'm not doing anything with the offensive retrofits for this particular build right here. So this is already 325 points. It's a lot. So obviously, I'm not going to be running squadrons here. I'm going to be only running another ship, and this is where it comes time for the other ship. Now, a lot of times people might run a Gazanti, maybe a couple of squadrons for like some deployment slowing down or something like that. Gazantis are often seen with SSDs. There's a lot of reasons for that. They can help repair damage, something like that. I have seen gladiators with projection experts set up to be able to feed some extra shields to keep that SSD alive. I don't think I need to do that because I have the tactical experts, so I can queue up the engineering commands the entire game. So I figured let's do something fun and also maybe a little bit unexpected and run a Demolisher with the SSD here. Demolisher is going to be pretty nasty. It won't be a full 100% Demolisher, but it's going to be close. We're not going to put engine techs on here. It's not as crucial. We'll have a lot of our path determined by where the SSD is and where the opponent is going. So I won't need it as much. It will be nice to have it, but I'm not going to be able to put that on here. But I'll put assault proton torpedoes on there, and I'll put ordnance experts on there. So I still have those nasty crits that give face-up damage, and I still have black dice rerolls, which is super helpful. Although I did put the wrong gladiator. I think I want a gladiator 1 instead of that one. So let me put that on there. Little oopsie. We want more black dice. We want to maximize our black dice with this particular one. So assault protons, and then ordnance experts and demolisher. I'm going to put one other thing on here, and because we're at 399, I've got one more point. And if you haven't guessed it by now, it's going to be Darth Vader as an officer. And this is going to allow the demolisher to also provide a crucial support function towards the SSD. And that is primarily if my opponents get into close range of me. At a certain point in any game with an SSD, people are going to move out of long range and into close range, rendering Krennic useless. Once the majority of the enemy fleet is now within close range of the SSD, Krennic has no function anymore. So he still, Vader can now choke out Krennic, and I still get all of those rerolls, which is extremely helpful. Additionally, I've got Ozzel there, who is doing nothing after he gets used. So Vader's there to give me a lot that reroll, and Krennic also. If I have to, tactical expert, but more than likely, if I get to the point where I've already choked out Ozzel and Krennic, I could possibly choke out Jerjerrod, and I might want to choke out Jerjerrod before choking out the tactical expert. But that's probably something that would happen on the very last turn of the game. So yeah, that's definitely something you're not going to reveal any more dials after that. So once you won't need the dial anymore, you might as well choke out the tactical expert. But Vader gives me all those extra rerolls, especially when they really, really matter, because you can't afford to let a ship get away with 1 health. So you need every reroll you can get. Now that is the build. It's just 2 ships. The Demolisher should kind of take up the weak side. So if their opponent is trying to flank the SSD, if they do speed up and get out of that front arc, that's when you want Demolisher to kind of come in on that side from behind and punish them for trying to get around the SSD. But generally, keep Demo in the back. A lot of opponents will say, "Oh, I can't kill the SSD, so let me just kill Demo, get some points, make this a win, and then fly away." And even if they lose like a CR90 in the process, Demo's a lot of points. So you have to keep Demo all the way in the back, keep Demo completely safe, force them to kind of engage the Super Star Destroyer, and then just keep Demo back to sort of to mop up, and that should do it. So let's take a look at the objectives I used for this list. I actually used this list in a tournament recently, so patrons will have access to that tournament report and kind of see a little bit of this fleet in action. So for this one, again, I wanted to use surprise attack for my red, primarily because of 2 things. This will give the raid tokens will help me reduce the squadrons, which is definitely going to be my biggest weakness is big carrier fleets. A lot of squadrons can come in, and a lot of bombers can come in and do a lot of damage to me very, very quickly. So surprise attack is going to have those rated tokens, but it puts the opponent's flagship much farther closer to me, which means I can potentially get a kill on turn 1. Especially with that Ozzel reroll, I might have them at medium range on the first turn. And that's really where the SSD really wants people. Because if I can get you at medium range, I've got 5 red and 4 blue, plus 2 more of my choice with that Concentrate Fire Ravager title. Probably plus another one from quad battery turrets on top of that. So that's already 9, 10, 11, 12 dice that I'm rolling. And then I've already got all the rerolls that I can really ask for between Krennic. I don't need to reroll blues like at all. If I don't get the blue crit out of all those blue dice, then so be it. I've got gunnery teams, and maybe I'll use it on the next shot. But yeah, so surprise attack, I might be able to kill a flagship on the first turn. That's kind of the hope. For my yellow, I went with Fleet Ambush. This kind of helps heavy squadrons have to kind of deploy their squadrons last. And Fleet Ambush also creates that ambush zone where every other ship your opponent deploys has to be inside the ambush zone. So they're going to be much closer to you, and then you can potentially get some really close range shots and do a lot of damage. The only problem with this one is that there's going to be there might be obstacles that in the middle also, and you certainly might end up having to do your for your first move or two over a whole bunch of obstacles to try to get to them. I think it's definitely worth it if you can, especially if you can kill 2 ships on the first turn, which you might be able to do with Fleet Ambush. So that could be really, really fun to do that. Last up is Solar Corona. It's kind of a cop-out. It's cheap, but hey, I've only got 2 ships, so I'll take a deployment advantage if I can get it. It gives me a really good setup position and lets me kind of choose where because again, I can probably be on you turn 1. If not firing turn 1, then definitely firing turn 2. And I want to really make that work the best that I can. And Solar Corona is going to work pretty well for me with that regard. And that is the list, everybody. I'd love to hear what you think. Let me know down in the comment section. Hop over on my Discord. Let's talk about SSDs. What would you do differently? And do you think the Starhawk has too many new advantages over the SSD in today's Star Wars Armada? Because do you think this is a competitive fleet? If you're a patron, go check out Patreon, because there is a tournament report utilizing this fleet so you can see how it performs. I will talk to you guys soon. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons as well. You guys are amazing and help make this channel possible. If you're interested in learning more, check out the links and social media links and t-shirt shop and luxury playstyle links and all of the different ways you can learn more and support the channel, and free Armada AI system over on Crabbok.com too. I want to thank you so much, and as always, have a great day.